Okay, a little bit of a sensitive issue today that we're going to talk about, and it's something that has to do with the fairly standard agreement that you're going to run into if you want to work with production music libraries, as I did in my career. And as I've always told you guys, holding on to your writer share is crucial, very important. If you are the only writer, you should be getting 100% of your writer share to get accepted by a library. There are other deals where I'm more flexible on that, and we can talk about that in other videos. I've talked about that many times, but just getting accepted by a library the first time, they keep publishers, you keep the writer share. You're splitting the back end 50-50. Okay, that's usually the standard deal, and that is a fair deal in my opinion, and I was very happy to do that in my career. Also, keep in mind with all of these things I'm going to tell you today, you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to agree to any of this. You don't have to say this is okay for you. This is just giving you a little bit of an explanation and a window into my thinking so that you can decide for yourself if you want to follow in my footsteps or if you want to go a completely different path, okay? But the other caveat that comes along with some production music libraries, and a good number of them, is a copyright transfer of the ownership from you to the company, meaning, yes, you are signing over the master recording rights over to a production music library that you're partnered with. Not all of your rights for every song you've ever created and everything you're going to create in the future, but just for the number of tracks that you're going to exclusively usually allow them to pitch for you on your behalf. So I know we have all been brought up and been told, and with good wisdom behind it, never, ever sign over your copyright. That is a death spell. That's going to just doom your career. You're a sucker if you do that. Never do that. I've heard it. Everybody's heard it. We all know the sort of obvious common sense reasons why you probably shouldn't immediately just be happy to sign over your copyright and transfer the rights of your music to another company, another entity, okay? And so this, funny AI image sort of represents that feeling that I had when I first got into this business and when I was approached and presented with that kind of a deal. And I know many of you have probably looked like this guy, or this guy, which way, or you will kind of feel like that of like, I don't know about that. I'm really not happy about transferring the rights of my music, the master recording rights, over to another company, okay? So this is where my mindset eventually shifted. And because of that shift in my mindset, I was able to do something pretty miraculous in my career, okay? First of all, before we get into whether you should or should not, I'm going to explain to you right now why a library asks you to do that. And it's not because they're greedy and they want to just own everything and they want to take control of everything and they're just sitting there like rubbing their hands and laughing their way to the bank. No, that's a caricature of what they do. That's not at all the situation, not in my opinion. What I think they do that for is to be able to allow things like this to happen, okay? So this is inside of my previous ASCAP account, which I can still access. I'm now a current member of BMI, but I can still log in. I can use my ASCAP account to use their Q sheet feature, which is what BMI still doesn't have, hopefully soon. But this is why you transfer your copyright over to a library. This is showing you guys that I have over 10,000 Q sheets with my music, my name showing up. And that means I have a lot more than 10,000 placements, because if you click on any one of these and you kind of start going through the shows and the programs that I've had my music in, many of these I have multiple shows. I have multiple placements, actually, rather, within each one. So the only way, though, this number 10,000 was ever able to be a possibility is for the fact that I was able to give them the clearance on those copyrights from day one. Because you got to realize, what is the business model of a library? Their model is to have pre-cleared, 100% legally cleared, ready to use, ready to be licensed, ready to download and immediately put into a TV show on demand. And they want to have a large number of tracks and a good, healthy diversity of different types of tracks and options for the clients. They want to make sure they're giving them all the different elements they need, the stems, the alt mixes, the metadata, all that kind of good stuff so they can find it. But the most important thing is the lack of friction, right? Because for everybody else in our industry, if you're an artist, if you're a band and you want to get your music licensed, and a supervisor or some music or TV producer wants to use your music, they have to reach out to you and get clearance, right? They got to get all of your signatures. If there's four band members, they got to tie down all four of them. Everybody's got to agree. Oh, by the way, is there a different publisher associated with your music? Okay, we got to go get their permission as well. It is very cumbersome. Any supervisor will tell you that it's a lot of work to go track down everybody. Not only just track everybody down for the signatures, but to get everybody to agree on the sync fee, on the terms. Is everybody comfortable with their music being placed on this commercial or in this show or in this scene? Do we all agree with this, right? Very complicated when you have a lot of different brains and creative minds, particularly creative minds, getting involved. There's a lot of chefs in the kitchen. Production music libraries, one of the reasons why they became so dominant in our industry and why they're responsible for at least, I think it's like 60 to 75% of all the music getting placed on TV, is because they're just much easier to deal with. Because a client doesn't have to go then clear every single track they want to use. They know that the production music library has pre-cleared everything. They've already signed off on, they've already gotten ownership and clearance on all of the copyright, all the master recording rights. They've already got all the agreements in place with all the supporting and submitting composers and producers. So it's all ready to go. It's literally, truly, clearly one stop. It's just, hey, all you got to do is sign up, get into our portal, download any tracks you want, and we'll make custom playlists for you. And literally everything that we give you access to is cleared and ready to use. Easy. Don't worry about it, and they're off and running. So the only way that in my career, 17 years in this business, I crossed 10,000 cue sheets with my music showing up is because the libraries that I worked with made it extremely easy for the TV clients to use my music, because from day one, when I sent those tracks off to them, the music was free and clear, okay? That's why I never lost sleep over this. That's why I've always been happy to transfer my copyrights over. That's why it's never been an issue for me at all. The last second question I would basically put to all of you, again, I don't want to convince you to do this or not. If this is already a bummer for you and a turnoff, great. Don't probably work with production music libraries, because this is basically the standard offer deal. They're probably not going to be negotiable on this at all. I can almost guarantee you they won't. But the second question that I asked myself all those years ago, and I still kind of challenge and probe those of you that are on the fence about this right now, would be, this is what I would ask you. If you don't want to transfer your copyright owner over, you don't want to do this, you don't want to even transfer your publishing over to a library, that's fine. What is your alternative plan then, right? So this library is saying, hey, we'll take your music. We think we can get it placed. There's a good chance we could basically get you maybe some sync fees, some royalties, kind of get you down this road of getting into sync. And you say no to that, totally fair. It's a free world, free country. Do whatever you want to do. But then what's plan B? What was your other plan to go monetize your copyright, monetize your publishing, monetize your writer share? If you've got a solid plan and you're like, no, I'm actually going to go do X, Y, or Z, or I actually do have a plan to go pitch to supervisors, or I actually want to go maybe try to get a publishing deal with a company who has some great relationship, whatever it is. If you've got a solid plan in place, then yeah, probably you shouldn't work with production music libraries. You should actually go do the thing that you actually want to do. Maybe this is just not going to be the path for you. It's not going to be the path for everybody. But for a vast majority of you watching this video right now, there probably isn't a solid plan in place, right? There probably isn't a solid like, oh no, I'm not going to assign my copyrights over to this company because I'm going to go do this, right? Speaking for myself, I should say, I didn't have any other plan. I mean, my other plan was literally cross my fingers, hope and pray I get discovered, just kind of hang around studios until maybe I get a deal with somebody. I didn't really have a real plan. I was just kind of hanging around the coattails of other people that had been a little more successful than me. And that's really not a plan for success. It's really not. I wasn't doing anything proactive with that approach. So for me, when a library approached me and I was able to get some small, consideration fees up front, started to build my catalog, and, started to see that there were some placements kind of coming through, I thought, wow, well, I think that was a really wise use of my copyrights, was to basically put it in the hands of somebody that had those relationships that could get the ball down the road. Because you got to think about it at the top layer, like what is the most important factor and variable for you? Is it keeping ownership of your copyright? Or is it turning this into full-time income, or at least hopefully in the beginning, part-time income? You kind of have to weigh those out. For me, it was like, I just want to do this for my living, with or without my copyrights. I don't really care that much about that, okay? If I could do that with holding on to my copyrights, I would do that. But I didn't have a plan for how I would do that while holding on to my copyrights. If I could do this without holding on to my copyrights, I'm open to that as well, just as long as I'm getting those royalties, the writer share showing up to me, I'm earning some sync fees, some consideration fees, I'm growing my catalog, I'm growing my relationships, and I feel like I'm actually moving in a way where this is becoming more and more of my focus and my full-time effort, which it did. Okay, either way, I'm actually open to that. So it's a bit unorthodox. It definitely goes against what we've all been essentially taught, and it might go against what you currently believe, and that's okay. Again, I am not trying to convince you to transfer and sell your copyrights if that's just not acceptable to you. Stay true to what your gut tells you. Stay true to your values and your principles. Absolutely. Just letting you guys know there is another way to look at it, and there are certain results, as you can see here, that can come along with thinking about this in a different way. So for whatever it's worth, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of my point of view on this. Happy to hear your criticisms, comments, feedback, anything posted below.